When you have already rejected God's self-disclosure of himself in natural and special revelation, you have already deemed that it is not necessary or sufficient by which you can know that God exists and that it is the God of the Bible. Right? So the point is simply this now. Your position is that there is no God. But without God, you couldn't know anything. Without God, you would not even be able to differentiate one particular from another. You couldn't even count particulars. And the reason why you couldn't, because counting is going to require an ontology and a system that provides for reason and counting or epistemology. And if you deny the existence of God, then all you are going to be left with is a chance system. Now, an unbeliever might come along and say, "Oh, no, I don't believe that everything's chance. I just believe that there's something ultimate, that provides for causality and laws of nature. It's just not your God." But unfortunately, they're violating their own criterion of belief when they affirm that, because what's their rational justification for that? How could you identify what is eternal when one is temporal? How could you identify what is eternal when that which is eternal is not an agent or revelatory? So the unbeliever, when he attempts to explain facts, is going to be left to appealing to brute facts, saying, "Oh, well, that's just the way it is." Okay, you say, "Well, that's the way. That's it. The reason why the sky is blue is because we have laws of nature and causality." You say, "Okay, you first have to establish that there is causality and laws of nature, but even more importantly, what is it that secures that they exist in place? Is it themselves? Or is it something external that secures laws of nature?" And you're not going to be able to answer that. Nobody could. The only way you could know that is if you are omniscient. And since you're not omniscient, then your last appeal is just simply going to be to, well, that's how the world works around us. That's how it is. How do you know how it is? I don't know. It just is. Once you say that, you have now conceded that contingency is ultimate rather than something is ultimate that provides for contingency. And if the outermost contextual layer for your facts are simply brute facts, they just say, well, they just are, or it just happens, then what you have is a chance system. And if you have a chance system, then you can have no intelligibility for facts. Now, what I'm simply saying to you is, you either accept that God is because of his revelatory actions, or you deny it. But the point is, the denial of God is impossible, because affirmation and denial is going to require a system that provides for the parameters of truth and reason and affirmation and denial. But there is no system that you can ascertain, none whatsoever.
So your all-powerful God wasn't able to make me
Notice, I want all the other people in the room to notice that because Yanis is committed not to surrendering to God, when I have demonstrated to him in a very clear way the absurdity of his position, he recognizes that his position is absurd, but because he does not want to relinquish his own personal mental autonomy, right? Then what he does is he just keeps on making objections. Your model of reality cannot provide for the intelligibility of any objections.
Could I ask something here?
Can your worldview provide for any affirmations or denials?
I think my worldview works fine. I'm
No, that's not an answer to my question.
Okay, I apologize. But
does your model of reality and its ultimacy provide the necessary prerequisite for all temporal states, because temporal states do not provide their own intelligibility. Okay, so what you've just realized now, step into the Christian worldview. The God of the Bible is eternal. The God of the Bible is omniscient and omnipotent and always truth revealing, and he has a plan of human creation by which he has made this world to operate in terms of the causal principle and in terms of laws of nature. And he's also endowed certain beings with agencies, such as angels and humans. And he's made humans in his image, and he's constructed their mental realm to be like his. We think like God at a foundational level. So the God of the Bible's attribute and property set provide for human intelligibility.
So,
okay. Now, now here's the problem. It's either, you have to make a choice. It's either God or absurdity.
Okay. I may make that choice soon.
No, you already have made that choice.
I know, but just one moment. I'm just asking that you just don't mute me arbitrarily before or at all, because if you ask me,
I'm not going to mute you as long as you're well behaved. Now, you don't have you no longer, now that I've explained it to you, you simply do not have the capacity, okay, given your attempted denial of God, right? You do not have a framework for affirmation or denial. So in your continued rebellion and clinging to your own human autonomy, which I have just showed that human autonomy, autonomous reasoning that is incoherent. It's absurd. But you, even though you recognize that human autonomous reasoning is absurd, you do not want to bow the knee to the one who will provide you with intelligibility. That's the issue.
That is the issue, yes. I am unconvinced, Darth.
No, that's no. You are quite mistaken. You have enough information that you have decided that in spite of the fact that the God of the Bible provides for human intelligibility and that the not God world does not, you're just simply hiding behind you're not convinced. See, again, what you just said is another act of rebellion, all right? Hiding behind neutrality. Neutrality toward God and his self-disclosure is rebellion. Now, it is not that you're unconvinced. You have fooled yourself, as well as many others, to believe, oh, I'm not convinced, meaning I'm neutral. But the concept of God as the irreducible primary, as the sine qua non of existence, that which is indispensable, the irreducible primary for all things that begin to exist, including human intelligibility, you cannot be neutral toward that, right? Because it is a world view. And if you say, I'm not convinced, you haven't persuaded me to believe that it is true, then by virtue of the non-acceptance of the irreducible primary is the denial of it. Because the very fact when you open up your mouth, in order for your words to be intelligible, it will have to be operating from another viable system that provides for human predication and intelligibility of propositions and facts. So when you say you're not convinced, this is just verbiage making an acting pretense as though you're still neutral. You're not neutral. You are denying that the God of the Bible is the absolute, ultimate, necessary prerequisite for all temporal facts.
This is true, yes.
Good. Now, when you do that, any words that come out of your mouth hereafter, you will, by implication, be claiming that they are truth bearers and that they possess intelligibility. But you can only have intelligibility for a proposition or a putative fact is if It has ultimate context. No ultimate context, then it is no fact at all. In other words, the so-called fact in question is just simply chance. In a chance world where the outermost explanation for events is just simply chance, it just is, brute facts, it just is, that's just the way things are, right? Then you can have no, you can, and here, and an additional problem is that you will not be able to differentiate one particular from another. Because how are you going to do so? You couldn't even count particulars. Because in order to count, you have to have a system, a model of reality that provides for truth appropriation, truth apprehension. Right?
Well,
but you don't. But your worldview doesn't have a substrate or background information that provides for truth, apprehension, and appropriation. You deny the Christian God, but in order to do that, okay, see, you're not neutral. You're not unpersuaded. Your position entails the denial of the Christian God, or God for that matter, as the necessary prerequisite. So any words that come out of your mouth that you portend that they are intelligible is going to come from another system. If you have no system, if you have no identifiable and accountable system, your words are gibberish and gobbledygook.
Darth, my system and your system do not work together, right?
No, listen to me. You are ignoring what I am saying to you because you are still running away from God, because you do not want to give up your sovereignty. Now, you know what a sovereign citizen is?
I know, yes.
Okay, they claim they're sovereign citizens. That's why they do not have to comply with the police officer's request, or so they think. Now, here's the problem. The moment you say anything that by implication is a denial of God, you have then plunged yourself into a realm of absurdity, even though you are unwilling to acknowledge or admit that. But I can clearly show to you that anything you say is absurd. And you know why? It's because you cannot have a contextless fact. The only way that I can say the sky is blue is because of a worldview. There's God and his creation. There's God is omnipotent, omniscient, always truth revealing, and he has a plan by which he has instituted the world, and the world operates according to his regularities, and so that I can know certain things. When you do not accept that, then what is your model of reality and its outermost context that's going to provide for the intelligibility of any putative facts therein? What is it? Because if you don't have one, listen to me, if you don't have an outermost context or framework, then you have no intelligibility for putative facts.
I do, and we've spoken about this before.
What is the outermost context that is the irreducible primary then?
I presuppose the uniformity of nature.
No, I didn't. No. I didn't ask you what you think.
Okay, right. What
you don't have to say, what is it ontologically that constitutes not God and is the necessary precondition and prerequisite for all temporal states?
I was getting to that. I felt.
What is it?
That the natural laws govern the world and there are no violations.
Okay, okay, are these laws that you are invoking,
that I presuppose, yes.
Do they sustain themselves?
Yes.
How do you know that?
To the best of my knowledge.
Is the causal principle and laws of nature, matter, energy, laws of nature, are they eternal?
I don't know the answer to that.
If you don't know the answer to that, then when you appeal to the outermost context of matter, energy, causality, and laws of nature, you are now just saying, well, it just is that way. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah.
Good. Now, when you say that the outermost framework for everything contained therein, well, that's just the way it is. And I say, okay, are these laws, right? When I ask you if they're eternal, the reason I ask you that is because if something is eternal, it will be unconditionally non-dependent. Okay?
Yeah, I don't know that.
Well, then the laws of nature, the putative laws of nature,
yes,
have no explanation for their existence.
Oh yeah, I don't know why they exist. Yes.
Okay, good. Now we're getting somewhere. We're making progress. Those are called brute facts. Now,
okay.
All right. Now, when you say the laws of nature are just there, but you're just saying they just are. Okay, they just are. They just happen to be that way. You're not positing that the laws of nature are ultimate and eternal and unconditionally non-dependent. Do you understand? That would be different if you said the laws of nature are eternal, ultimate, and unconditionally non-dependent. But you're not saying that. You're just saying, well, they just are without any explanation. Well, your model of reality now is a chance world. And in a chance world, listen carefully, in a chance world, you cannot delineate what is possible or impossible. Okay? In a chance world, where the outermost framework, the outermost contextual layer to explain putative facts are chance entities themselves, right? Then you cannot invoke anything. You cannot say what is possible or what is impossible. And if you don't have a framework to delineate or to determine what is possible and impossible, you have no intelligibility for any facts whatsoever. Now, the only reason why you will continue to believe that you do have intelligibility is because you're refusing to look at your own worldview. Okay? Your outermost contextual layer that is required for intelligibility of temporal facts or putative facts are brute facts. They're just chance occurrences. They just are. They're not ultimate. I don't know either. They're just there. And if you have a chance system, right? If everything is ultimately chance, then you cannot have intelligibility for particulars. Do you understand the consequences? Yanis?
Oh yeah, sorry. It wasn't me. You were talking to somebody else.
No, I'm talking to you. When you appeal to laws of nature as brute facts, first of all,
yes, I do. Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Well, then that's catastrophic. It renders your worldview as absurd.
Okay. Explain me how.
I just did. Weren't you listening?
Well, I thought you were talking to somebody else, but anyway.
I'll explain it to you again really briefly. If you have nothing that is identifiably ultimate and its attributes and property set, then you cannot identify what is possible and impossible, because a possibility resides in the attributes and properties of what is ultimate. On the other hand, if you say, well, I don't know what's ultimate, but then your system is just an appeal to possibility, then anything goes. Then you can't. Then you cannot say. Then you cannot say what is or is what is not.
Okay, so am I wrong in your view when I presuppose the uniformity of nature?
Your worldview is that the so-called uniformity of nature is simply chance.
Well,
and listen to me carefully.
I'm listening.
In a chance world, continuity is simply an illusion.
Okay.
In a chance world, continuity, things that stay the same while other things change, is an illusion.
Okay, but I'm not saying it's chance totally.
No, you're not understanding. Then you're going to have to tell me, are the laws of nature, are they eternal, ultimate, without beginning, and unconditionally non-dependent?
I'm not sure that I can answer that. I'm saying that they appear.
No. Listen carefully. You're being evasive. Don't you understand how I'm smoking out your dishonesty as a sinner before God? Don't you understand don't you understand your core motivation is rebellion against God? And you're trying to justify your rebellion by hiding behind, well, I don't have a reason to believe. I'm just unconvinced. But I've already showed you that that's gibberish. Now, your worldview is a world of chance. Your model of reality is that the outermost framework that provides for temporal occurrences is chance.
No.
Okay, now, what is it then that is ultimate in your worldview, which is the indispensable primary of existence for all temporal facts? What is it?
Well, nature appears to be uniform.
Okay. See, now you're persisting in being dishonest. I didn't ask you how things appear. I asked you, what is it that is ultimate and that is the primary origin point for all possibility and impossibility? What is it?
Okay, look, it's getting late here. I do apologize if I can't.
Now, I want the other people in the room to know this is a classic example of the sinful human heart, who they have one priority, okay? And I'll quote Jesus from the parables. We will not have this man rule over us, because there's only two positions that you can take. Either the mind of God and his person is ultimate and the ultimate authority, wherein your mind would be in submission and subjugation to God's mind, okay? Or your mind is sovereign. You do not need to subject your thoughts and your reasonings to the mind of God. In other words, that your mind has to be in alignment with the mind of God and how he's revealed it. So your mind is which determines what the nature of reality is. Listen, rather than God communicating to you what the nature of reality is so that you can understand facts and so that you can cross-check and cross-reference your thinking with God's, okay? Your position is called autonomous reasoning. So you cannot deny this. You are operating under autonomous reasoning. Do you understand that?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to.
Okay, now here's the problem. Autonomous reasoning always leads to contradiction and absurdity. How are you going to be able to unify all the array of particulars out there? What unifies everything? Where do you get universals? Where do you get classes? Now, if you tell me, oh, well, I can see them. Well, all you're simply telling me is there's an appearance of these things. I want to know what actually provides for actual unity as opposed to the appearance of unity. Do you know what a doppelganger is?
I do.
Okay, do you remember the picture I showed the other night of the female doppelgangers? If I show them to anyone on the street, people say, oh, yeah, well, they're sisters. No, they're not. They have an appearance of unity, but it's only coincidental. There's no, other than setting aside that their DNA happened to produce their same face, we can say analogously that the reason why they look this way is not by law, because they're sisters or near relatives. right? Like I look like my brothers. I sound like my brothers. Is that purely coincidental? Or is there some law behind it? Well, the answer is there is a law behind it. It's called my mother and my father's biological blueprint.
Oh,
That's why I look like my mother. I look like my mother and my father and my brothers sound. We all sound the same.
Yes,
right?
it's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Genetics would
right. So the unity that is there is not illusory.
Oh no, of course not.
Good. Now, in order for you to make sense of your world, you've got to show that unity is not illusory.
Well,
so what secures, where do you get the unity amongst the array of particulars? Because you want to claim that there are laws of nature. Laws of nature are types of universals.
Yes.
Good. What is it? What is it? I'm going to ask you a very simple question. What is it that provides for the actuality of unity among diversity? What secures that?
Well, are you talking about our genetics still, or what?
No, I'm talking about any universals that are actual as opposed to.
Oh yeah, we seem to. I do. I told you before. I think we have universal laws of nature that.
No. What? No. Hold on a second. These laws of nature, do they secure themselves? Are they ultimate and absolute?
They secure themselves. Yes.
Okay. And how did you determine that?
We reproduce the same results over and over when we.
No. You're okay. No. Every day the farmer comes out and he feeds the chicken, and the chicken says, "Listen, there's the law of the farmer." And the other chicken says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Every day the farmer comes out and he feeds us at 9 o'clock in the morning. Look, I'm going to predict tomorrow the farmer's going to come out and feed us because that's the way it's always happened in the past. The farmer comes out the next day. He said, "You see?" And he says, "I'm going to predict every day for the next 10 years that farmer's going to come out without fail, same time every day." It's called the law of the farmer. But on the first day of the 16th year, the farmer comes out and he cuts the chicken's head off.
Possibly.
So you see, what you have to show is that any appearance of consistency is the product of something that is law-like. Okay. So the fact that there have been a consistency and that you even may have predictive capability without fail does not logically necessitate that these universals actually exist, that they are law-like. If I were to take the picture of those young women who are doppelgangers and I were to show them to young children, because young children don't understand doppelgangers and even genetics, they're going to be bamboozled. They're going to be totally bewildered that they're not. How can they not be sisters? They look just like each other. Because even little children understand familial resemblance. Even little children understand that there are people who are identical twins because they're of a common biological source. Okay? Now, am I going to blow the minds, blow away the children when I say, listen, they don't have the same parents. They're not even blood related. And little kids are going to go, how is that possible? Okay? Now, that doesn't prove what I'm saying. It's analogous. When you appeal to unity that is out there or consistency, is the consistency real as opposed to illusory? And is the consistency that is not illusory secured by something, either itself or something extraneous to itself? Now, you said the laws of nature are ultimate in of themselves, but you contradicted yourself because a few minutes ago you said you don't know what it is that secures the laws of nature, but now you tell me that the laws of nature are absolute themselves. So you have absolutely contradicted yourself. So are the laws of nature secured by something further out contextually, or are the laws of nature ultimate themselves? Because if they're not ultimate, they don't secure themselves. Which is it?
So I'm saying that nature is uniform, right?
No. What is the uniformity of nature secured by what is ultimate? Or is the appearance of these consistencies simply illusory and chance?
Well, hold on. You make two different things there, right? You say, is it secured by something, or
dude, my patience is really running out from you because you're simply being a rebellious sinner. Now, one more time.
Dart.
Which is it? Are the laws of nature, are they absolute and ultimate in themselves? Or is there something else contextually that is absolute and ultimate that secures laws of the continuity that we call laws of nature? I want to say the laws of nature exist without God. I want to know, are the laws of nature godlike? Are they ultimate and absolute in and of themselves, in that they secure themselves from eternity? Or is there something that is ultimate that provides for the actual continuity? Which is it?
Darth, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, you see, you can't answer the question.
It's about time.
Okay? So what we've seen on full display here, I am confronting him with the absolute, complete absurdity of his position. There's nowhere for him to turn now. Okay, he's tried, mumbo jumbo and Bolsheviking, but because he does not want to give up his own autonomous reasoning, he does not want to surrender and say, yes, God is the sovereign one. God himself is only that which is autonomous, and that my reason, in order for it to exist, in order for my reason to be intelligible, must be in subjugation to the autonomous mind of God. He doesn't want to do that. So what he wants to do is he wants to try to make a case that his reason can actually exist and it can be intelligible without reference to God. Well, your reason is either going to itself have to be ultimate and absolute and eternal, not requiring any further contextual frame of reference, or you're going to have to tell me what is the outermost contextual layer that provides for this possibility or putative fact. Well, the answer is he has none.